back to the Patrick Lane Show, where we talk about personal finance, investing, and real estate. And today's big news in the stock market is Coinbase and its direct listing today. But we don't really know yet what the price is going to be, how it's going to shake out, whether it's going to be a good investment or not. We talked a little bit about Coinbase in a previous video. So today, as a sort of an homage to Coinbase, we're really asking the question about Bitcoin. Can Bitcoin survive China creating its own central bank digital currency, a CBCD? And so we're going to talk about that a little bit. Before we get into that, do me a favor, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell so that everybody who wants to see the video will get the video pushed to them by the YouTube algorithm. Now, as you may or may not know, obviously Bitcoin is a huge cryptocurrency. And the whole idea behind Bitcoin is that there's no government regulation. It's, there's a lot of anonymity, and you can sort of transact and exchange value, currency, goods, etc., with no government interference. That's really the whole idea behind decentralized finance or decentralized currencies. And digital currencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum and all of the others, that's what they try to do, is capture that decentralized currency so that we can exchange in commerce with each other without having Big Brother or the eyes of every Karen in Congress looking down upon us to see what we're doing and why we're doing it and how we're doing it. But the problem is that government being government doesn't want us to transact anonymously. They don't want us to be able to live our lives in a commerce way, exchanging goods and services without them being in the middle of it and knowing our business. And so, of course, what country is the most authoritarian, communist, controlling regime in the world right now that's also on a growth pattern in their economy, and that is China. So China has this policy, this vision, that they want to overtake the United States by the year 2050 and be the dominant world power. So how does that play into China's now moving into the digital currency realm? They are actually creating, their central bank in China is creating a digital currency, a digital coin that is going to be an official coin that's put out. It's a real currency from the Chinese government. How does that impact the United States, the US dollar, and other currencies around the world? And specifically, how does that impact Bitcoin? China wants to be the dominant power around the world. It views a cryptocurrency as part of that transition from the US dollar being the reserve currency. And the US dollar right now is the currency around the world that most countries, most foreign exchanges, most central banks actually settle their transactions in. And so even in China, where there's trillions of dollars of commerce that takes place, if it is an international trade in China, it is typically settled in US dollars in China. So that's something that just irks the Chinese government, right? The Communist Party wants China to be the superpower in the world. And it views digital currency as a way to do that, because Bitcoin has opened that door for people being able to trade. Now, of course, Communist China doesn't want people to be anonymous at all. And so one of the downfalls of the e-yuan, that's the yuan is the Chinese currency, and the e-yuan would be the digital CBCD for China. One of the downfalls with the e-yuan is that they are actually programming their digital currency to provide anonymity between the buyer and the seller, but not anonymity from the government. so that if you buy a hamburger from McDonald's in China, and actually McDonald's and some other international firms have already started accepting the e-yuan. If you buy a hamburger from McDonald's in China and you pay for it with the e-yuan, then the McDonald's and you are anonymous to each other. So McDonald's won't be able to tell based on the e-yuan that it was you individually who purchased it, and you individually won't be able to know the identity of the McDonald's on the other end. Now, obviously, if you walk into the counter and you use your phone to pay for it, you're going to know where you're paying. But imagine a transaction over the internet where both parties are anonymous. The problem is that the Chinese Communist Party wants to know everything about everybody so it can control behavior. And so they have programmed their digital currency so that the government, is able to tell who the parties to the transaction actually are. Now, what does this mean for Bitcoin? The Chinese government could easily, after this rolls out, and keep in mind it's been rolling out, they've been testing it now for a few months in China, and they keep opening it up to more and more people. And actually, the way they do it is they just give people money. They've given the commercial banks in a certain province or area what are called red packets of money, and then that commercial bank just allows it to be deposited onto the individual citizen's wallet. They receive an email or a notification to invite to create a wallet for e-yuan, and then the e-yuan value is deposited onto their e-wallet. So they're just handing out this currency in order to get people to adopt its usage. Now, in China already, a lot of people use digital payments instead of cash, and so it's an easy transition for them to not have to worry about carrying actual paper currency, because a lot of people don't do that already. But to get this transition rolled out, the goal is to get it adopted by the large part of the country, if not the entire country. And of course, remember, in China, the government says you're going to adopt this currency and you're going to pay using e-yuan, and that's it. Everybody has to do it. There's no option to pay otherwise. So they're trying to roll this out before the Beijing Olympics in 2022 because they want to use it as an opportunity to show the rest of the world what they've been able to do with digital currency. And then the idea is that China can offer its influence geopolitically around the world to other countries that are dependent upon foreign nations for example, financial aid during disaster times or general investment, those types of things. And so, think about if a hurricane hits South America, for example, and a country down there is struggling and wants aid handed out. The U.S., we put a bunch of stuff on ships and we send money down there and we send supplies and we do all that. Well, it takes us a couple of weeks to get all of those first aid supplies to that country. China, with the e-yuan, could just deposit that money into the financial coffers of that government, who then could go out and spend that money on their rebuilding of their country, their disaster relief. And so China's idea is that they can get more people to adopt the digital currency, the e-yuan. They can use it as a way to influence governments around the world by offering these sorts of financial incentives in the case of infrastructure development and disaster relief. So what does that mean for Bitcoin? Well, the fact of the matter is that Bitcoin is supposed to be unregulated, decentralized, allow for anonymity. Now, that's perturbed just about every government around the world. Some countries already are banning it. The government in the U.S. is trying to tax it and relying on exchanges to provide that information and individual taxpayers to provide information about their Bitcoin usage. But in China, the government is much more authoritarian and much more prone to collect data and spy on its own citizens. And so if there is a way for them to use the digital currency of the e-yuan to supplant Bitcoin, they're going to do that. Now think about Bitcoin. Most of the Bitcoin in the circulation right now is mined in China. Well, if the government comes out and says you can't mine Bitcoin anymore, you cannot own Bitcoin or hold Bitcoin or trade Bitcoin, and we are going to give you the e-yuan instead, that's going to cause the market cap and the price for a Bitcoin to crater. And then if you have all of these other central banks, the US included, and probably the US in particular, who is worried about standing in the geopolitical sphere, we don't want China to be the only superpower, economic superpower in the world by 2050, then we certainly here, the Fed and the Congress, are going to make moves to create our own US-based central bank digital currency. And those discussions have already started. So the thing we've got to worry about is how China's rollout of this e-yuan over the next couple of years, with the anticipation being it's fully operational by the Winter Olympics in 2022, how that is going to impact Bitcoin. And frankly, it could cause Bitcoin to just absolutely collapse. Now, it's going to collapse for the people who want to be involved in central bank finance. So the institutional investors. But will it still survive for those individuals around the world who want Bitcoin to be the decentralized currency and asset hold that is outside of government reach or regulation, which is really the idea behind Bitcoin to begin with? So those are the pros and cons of the digital currency that's issued by central banks around the world, and how China could kill Bitcoin by simply issuing their e-yuan to everyone and requiring it to be used. Do me a favor, let me know down below what you think. Is Bitcoin going to soar no matter what? Could China really kill Bitcoin? And what do you think about the idea of central banks creating their own digital currency to supplant Bitcoin and move Bitcoin out of the market? Let me know your thoughts. I'm interested to hear whether you think this is an interesting area to talk about or not. And also, do me a favor before we leave, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and ring the notification bell. We really appreciate your help. And we'll see you in the next video.